Digital Crime Defense Institute presents KITE Enforcement as a Panacea for GenAI Wealth Distribution, a documentary on trustworthy knowledge, fair AI economics, and the future of verifiable intelligence. The GenAI economy currently rewards compute, cloud, chips, and model ownership more visibly than it rewards the verified knowledge that makes AI useful. KITE corrects this distortion by making knowledge traceable, attributable, licensable, auditable, and compensable. GenAI value chain is often described as a stack: chips, cloud, models, applications, and users. But this framing is incomplete. It omits the epistemic capital that makes models useful. A language model without credible training data is like a hospital without medical records, a court without evidence, or a university without libraries. It may still produce words, but it cannot reliably produce knowledge. Today, the AI economy celebrates the visible stack. Chips are priced, cloud is priced, models are priced, applications are priced. But the knowledge layer, the books, archives, records, research, images, voices, cultural memory, professional expertise, and domain experience, is often treated as free raw material. Training data is the soil of the GenAI economy. If the soil is polluted with fake data, stolen intellectual property, biased narratives, synthetic spam, outdated facts, poisoned data sets, or contextless fragments, even the most powerful model becomes a beautiful machine built on epistemic sand. Much of today's AI economy rewards scale over trust. The more data a model consumes, the more powerful it appears. But quantity without integrity creates the data obesity problem. The model becomes large but unhealthy. It consumes digital sugar, contaminated protein, and elegant poison in the same meal. When knowledge is invisible, compensation becomes invisible. When identity is missing, ownership disappears. When traceability is absent, accountability evaporates. KITE begins by making knowledge visible again. A kite does not fly because of wind alone. Too much wind without control destroys it. Too little tension collapses it. A weak frame bends. A missing tail destabilizes it. A broken string makes it dangerous. GenAI is the kite of the digital age. Compute is the wind. It gives lift, it gives force, it gives speed. But wind alone cannot create safe flight. A storm can lift a kite, but without control, it becomes a hazard. Human knowledge is the fabric. Without fabric, there is no kite. Without verified knowledge, there is no trustworthy intelligence. Identity tells us who stands behind the knowledge. Traceability tells us how it moved. Evidence proves what happened. Governance decides when, where, and how the kite may fly. Integrity of knowledge means that information used in GenAI must be accurate, complete, lawful, context-aware, non-corrupted, and fit for its intended use. It is not enough for data to exist. It must be worthy of becoming machine-ingested knowledge. KITE demands that data be graded before it is absorbed. Identity answers the question, who or what stands behind this data? Identity is not merely a username. It is a chain of accountability. Verified identity also creates economic opportunity. Once creators, universities, media houses, hospitals, professional bodies, and licensed experts can prove authorship and ownership, they can license their knowledge into GenAI markets. Traceability is the ability to follow information across its life cycle: creation, collection, transformation, storage, licensing, training, retrieval, output generation, review, correction, and retirement. Without traceability, model owners can say the model learned it. But creators, regulators, auditors, and victims cannot inspect how that learning happened. Evidence is the proof layer. It turns governance promises into verifiable facts. A GenAI provider should not merely claim that training data is responsible. It should produce evidence showing how data was sourced, classified, validated, licensed, protected, monitored, corrected, or retired. KITE is not only a metaphor, it is an implementation model. It turns trusted knowledge into a governed, measurable, licensable, auditable, and compensable asset. The source registry verifies institutions, publishers, creators, experts, public authorities, research bodies, data cooperatives, and cultural archives. Each supplier receives a persistent identity and assurance level. All incoming data passes through an intake gateway. It captures metadata, licensing terms, source identity, collection date, jurisdiction, sensitivity level, intended use, and prohibited use. The Data Integrity Laboratory tests whether knowledge is fit for AI use. It checks accuracy, duplication, contamination, bias, privacy exposure, adversarial risk, synthetic pollution, and domain suitability. The objective is not perfection. The objective is measurable trust improvement. The provenance ledger records each major lifecycle event. It creates a chain of custody for knowledge, from source to dataset, from dataset to model, from model to output. The rights and compensation engine maps usage to license terms, royalties, subscriptions, revenue share, attribution obligations, and restrictions. This is where KITE turns knowledge integrity into wealth distribution. Model providers document which classes of data were used, under what legal basis, in which training phases, with which risk controls, and with what evidence. KITE does not require reckless disclosure of trade secrets. It supports tiered transparency, confidential audit rooms, cryptographic proofs, secure enclaves, and independent certification. Coffee became more equitable when origin, producer, certification, and ethical sourcing became visible. Diamonds became more governable when chain of custody became enforceable. Food became safer when ingredients, allergens, and expiry dates became mandatory. GenAI requires the same transition, from anonymous extraction to certified knowledge commerce. KITE creates new economic roles. Universities become suppliers of verified learning corpora. Media houses become suppliers of time-stamped, fact-checked archives. Hospitals become suppliers of ethically governed clinical knowledge. Enterprises become suppliers of operational intelligence. Museums and libraries become suppliers of cultural memory. Licensed individuals become micro-suppliers of expert knowledge, local dialects, lived experience, and creative works. Implementation begins with a baseline assessment. Which models are used? What data feeds them? Which outputs are business critical? What evidence exists? What legal, privacy, IP, and safety risks remain? Critical GenAI systems should rely primarily on Class A and Class B knowledge. Class C belongs in controlled experimentation. Class D must be rejected, quarantined, corrected, or retired. Critical GenAI systems should be built on a knowledge quality hierarchy. Class A knowledge should be the primary foundation. This is verified, authoritative, traceable, and evidence-backed knowledge from trusted sources such as peer-reviewed research, official records, regulated datasets, certified documentation, validated expert input, and legally licensed content. It is suitable for high-impact GenAI use cases where accuracy, accountability, and safety matter. Class B knowledge may also be used, but with controls. This includes reputable, explainable, and reasonably reliable knowledge that may not be fully authoritative but can be cross-checked, attributed, and validated. Class B knowledge is useful for contextual enrichment, operational support, analysis, and decision assistance, provided there is human oversight and source transparency. Class C knowledge belongs only in controlled experimentation. This may include unverified, emerging, speculative, incomplete, or weakly attributed information. It can be useful for research, ideation, simulation, red teaming, trend exploration, or hypothesis generation, but it should not directly influence critical decisions, automated actions, public outputs, regulatory submissions, medical advice, legal reasoning, financial decisions, or safety-related operations without validation. Class D knowledge must be rejected, quarantined, or treated as hostile. This includes false, poisoned, manipulated, deceptive, malicious, synthetic, without disclosure, illegally sourced, unverifiable, or intentionally misleading content. Class D knowledge should not enter training pipelines, retrieval systems, decision workflows, or public-facing GenAI outputs. It should be isolated for investigation, threat intelligence, forensic analysis, or adversarial testing only. In simple terms, Class A and B inform critical GenAI. Class C teaches us carefully. Class D must be contained before it corrupts the knowledge ecosystem. KITE cannot live only inside engineering. It requires accountable governance. Knowledge owners, data stewards, model providers, assurance providers, and regulators must work together. In high-risk domains, healthcare, law, finance, education, cybersecurity, public services, industrial safety, journalism, elections, and critical infrastructure, hallucination is not merely an inconvenience, it can become harm. KITE enforcement does not punish model builders. It completes the market. It recognizes that GenAI value is created not only by chips, clouds, and code, but also by the knowledge workers, institutions, creators, researchers, journalists, clinicians, teachers, engineers, archivists, and communities whose information makes intelligence possible. The journey begins with uncontrolled data. It matures into documented datasets, managed controls, verified evidence, certified knowledge, and finally, a market-integrated GenAI economy. The future of GenAI should not be a narrow pyramid where value rises upward to a few infrastructure and model owners. It should be a KITE economy, lifted by innovation, stabilized by evidence, guided by identity, disciplined by traceability, and made meaningful by the integrity of knowledge. If compute is the wind of GenAI, trusted knowledge is the fabric. Without the fabric, there is no KITE. Without IKITE, there is no trustworthy flight.